Bitcoin just flashed a warning. XCN Onyxcoin and XRP Ripple could be setting the trap minus 90%. So Bitcoin just flashed a signal that usually shows up before massive moves, and almost nobody's paying attention. While the market is bleeding red and fear is taking over, XCN Onyxcoin and XRP Ripple are quietly positioning at levels historically come right before explosive rallies or brutal traps. Most people are looking at the price, and what they are missing in the charts is liquidity and on-chain behavior are actually saying right now. In this video, I'm breaking down why Bitcoin's currently warning could be the setup, how XCN breaking resistance changes the entire outlook, and why XRP could be the next in line, whether the market wants it or not. If you wait for the headlines, you're already too late. So let's get into it. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name is Neil, keeping tech classes short and sweet as always. That intro was all generated by ChatGPT. So let's see if that pushes the video out to new viewers. Like, subscribe, donate if you want. Become members, that's always appreciated, as 50% of everything I make, 50% of everything I make goes to save animals' lives while the cats try to kill each other. But we have this black upward trend line that we did not want to see broken. Clearly it broke underneath that level, which is pretty important that we held that. We had the close below the previous low, which is not a good sign. And as we've had drawn out here for quite a few days, if not weeks, this yellow line showing this is still the possibility. We still have pretty much all of this area to be playing within before we actually take off, now that we have broken that upward trend line. A lot of people say, Neil, you said it was going to go up the other day. And no, I'm saying we need to have validation. Never saying enter now because Bitcoin was up for the, this 3-day area that we had just a few days ago. Never said that. None of this is financial advice. What I am saying is we have to wait for Bitcoin to stabilize and get some structure. And I do like to bring this up. A lot of people just want me to jump directly into XCN. I'll give you some insight on XCN, but we're going to bounce between XCN, XRP, and Bitcoin. And somebody was asking me if the purple triangles have any signification. I forget that a lot of you people that are watching my channel don't really have the best idea of how market structure is made. The visuals that I put on this, I know there's a bunch of lines, a lot of stuff going on. But if you go through my previous videos, you can see when these were put in. And it's more or less showing you the range that we could be trading within. If we break this red downward trend line, we'd more than likely have some resistance within this area. We'd want to see some consolidation above that downward trend line. And since we did not hold over this top of the purple triangle, the triangle's put there because we have this black line that's more or less the midpoint for our downward wedge. It's nothing of real significance. It's just to get a good visualization. Ideally, we want to be above that and trading within this range, right above the 50 to the top of this downward trend line. Since we are underneath that midpoint, we have to be expecting that depending on if Bitcoin pulls back even more, that we could see XCN pull back as well. Ideally, like we've talked about, I think the 0.04 entries are still phenomenal if you guys had the opportunity to enter in at that area. And if you are still holding, I mean, there's no worries. You guys are still up over 50% if you did not sell off that 20% up here at around 130% increase. But we had that rejection off that red trend line and the pullback, which is necessary. When we pull up the RSI down here, it's very healthy. We are still technically building higher lows. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's essentially this. Let's see if we can get you a trend line in here. We could do from here down to here. As long as we're building higher lows, that we can see this thing start to build up again towards that red downward trend line. The purple triangles are essentially just to show you the ranges that we have within the wedge. Breaking all the way down here is essentially like putting the coin back at nothing, but this red downward trend line is more or less our support that we want to be holding, and the pressure is building up. We are getting to the end of this wedge, and typically what we see in crypto is it cross over this line. So that could be weeks, months, whatever it may be. I could be incorrect. It could be tomorrow that we just break up out of it. But this red downward trend line, essentially once that is crossed, that is when we can really start to look at the 4-hour and breaking out for XCN. We're going to jump back to XCN, but I'm going to show you why it is pulling back, because Bitcoin had its 1 or 2 day drop. It's nothing to really worry about. Volume is getting picked up, and Binance is stating that if Bitcoin goes down and they don't have $1 billion in reserve, that they will invest more money into Bitcoin and make their reserve still $1 billion. So even with this pullback, this $80,000 is pretty good reference, but really the 73,678 is what needs to be held as support. If this does have a continuation for the next few days, I wouldn't put it past it, whatever the government says is happening now, but we reference it back to previous history. So like here, for example, from the high at 109 all the way down to 73,000 was around 30 to 32%. If we push back from where our current high was to the 73,000, I believe it was around 35%. So still not a huge major difference, but people who have not been in altcoin season, that's about 41%. We are currently at 35%. Pretty significant pullback for the randomosity of having the government shut down right here when it was supposed to be taking off. So all this area from October 10th until now is more or less irrelevant information. It's not following the pattern of Bitcoin on what it should be, where it should be going. And just because we have this 1 or 2 day pullback, this thing, like we've seen in previous history back in April of 2025, it pulled way back to 73,000, and then the next week was already back up at 85. The next week after that, back up at 97. The week after that, 112. So don't get shaken out. Hold on to your coins. Similar with XRP, it's not forming the pattern exactly like we had planned. The downside is still a decrease in price to 18%, but it is more or less unlikely depending if Bitcoin does just have its reversal in the next couple of days, or if it is being held and suppressed for a little bit longer. So again, as I keep repeating, we are waiting for Bitcoin to flip and do its stabilization. The current market right now has nothing to do with what altcoin season is about to bring. What is happening right now is fear and shaking out. So the title that I have posted is more or less for FOMO. Get people who are scared and think 1 or 2 days in the red, or 9 months in the red, is something to be worried about. The market is not going to make you a ridiculous amount of money in a short period of time until altcoin season hits, which we have been waiting for that for way too long. October 10th destroyed our momentum on every single chart that you look at. We are supposed to break out of this downward trend line, have the continuation upward. Government shutdown put us in this slump. But now we are entering into February here in the next couple of days. Within the first week, we might start seeing some major movement. That would be the best, give us a little bit of breath, but really we are holding out and waiting for this to turn around. Day after day, I'm not stating to buy every single day. I'm stating there's support and resistance, and the possibilities. So the possibility for XCN is all the way back down at the 0.04 now, that we are underneath that median point, but it is consolidating. It is losing steam for the bears, in my opinion, because even Bitcoin dropping as much as it did, XCN is still stabilized right around that 0.006. I don't think it's going to hold up. If Bitcoin drops a little bit further, we could see it testing this downward trend line yet again. But it's all healthy for the market. Even if the RSI pulls down underneath this black trend line, it would still be a higher low than the previous low. Back, when was that? Back in December 31st of 2025. So as long as we are still above that, it's still golden. It's thinning out. The CM guppy is another thing to keep in mind. We're just waiting. I can keep making videos day after day, but we are waiting to see some actual movement. And with XRP, dollar cost average, you will not regret it. $1.74, $1.80, $1.60, whatever it may come to in this upcoming year, you will have been happy that you have stacked a bag of XRP, XCN, and a lot of the other coins that I recommend. But none of this is financial advice, so hopefully you guys saw it from a different angle with this new video. I know a lot of people are panicking because they see Bitcoin move down a little bit. It's all temporary. It's just a minor blip. Wait for it. Think of it like a slingshot. It's got to get pulled back to get launched. You can't just have a flappy slingshot, just dropping the rock. It doesn't work like that. It has to have major pullbacks, get people freaking out. And actually something you should keep in mind is that Bitcoin did a major liquidity sweep, is essentially what this thing that is currently happening is called. It's called a liquidity sweep because there are thousands or millions of dollars in longs. Technically, it's $1.7 billion that got liquidated, and 1.59 or almost 1.6, almost all of it were long positions. People were betting, say they had $100. They said they wanted to 10x leverage it. They put $100 in, acted like they had 1,000, thought this thing was doing its reversal, and got liquidated. Very good for the market, very healthy actually. If the RSI would pull up, I could maybe show you on the RSI, but video is getting too long. So like, subscribe, donate, become members, and good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you guys on the next one.